This is a video to help amateur golfers understand the triangle. In my 40,000 plus hours and 26 plus years of teaching golfers, I have found that less than 1% truly understand what maintaining the triangle is. So when I explain this to you based on body mechanics, I'm hoping that makes sense. The best way to learn is experientially. Obviously, when you're listening to me and watching a video, you're not experiencing it. So we're going to come up short no matter what until you're able to actually go through the motions yourself. But hopefully, maybe this information, you can get yourself in front of a mirror and try to help yourself understand at a deeper, applicable level of what that actually means. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the joints. So we've got shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then I'm going to point out sternum and belly button. And the reason I point out sternum and belly button, those are fixed points to the spine. So if we were ever wanting to even guess what degree of shoulder turn, what degree of hip turn, if we just look at the sternum and belly button from a face-on view, that's really going to give us a pretty good visual and accurate measurement for the approximate degree of turn. All right, so let me undo those two. So let's just connect these dots from here to here, here to here. There's the triangle at address. Now, the key is, as long as the golfer does not move the shoulder socket, does not move the elbow joint, and does not move the wrist joint, maybe a slight hinge to square up the club face, as long as those bones do not move, the key is the dog is wagging the tail, so you've got to shut those arms down. The muscles in the arms cannot move. We don't want those joints moving. So that's how that happens. So I'm going to draw your attention right here to the right shoulder. When that right shoulder clears the back of the head, right up here, we know that we have a 90-degree shoulder turn. Again, I'm always going to point out joints. A lot of people could say, get your back to the target. That's another good visual. But I pretty much stay with origin of movement, so I'm going to have you put your attention on that right shoulder. Clear that out. All right, so keep that in mind. So now let's move forward. So to get the club on plane, provided the setup is correct, I don't know if you noticed, but these joints have not changed. The torso moved, but the shoulder and the elbow and the wrist actually didn't move. So let's go back. Let's have you test that and watch again. There you go. Now if I look at the shoulder, and I'm going to look at the sternum this time when it rotates, when he rotates, there you go. That's a 45-degree shoulder turn. Here is his sternum, and here is the hands. Now one of the things we can see is the sternum and the hands are still, I can still have a nice straight plumb line. I can clearly see that the shoulder, at this point, there's no shoulder elevation. That shoulder has pretty much stayed in the same spot. The arm hasn't raised itself up. The only thing that happened is that right shoulder barely turned, made a slight 45-degree shoulder turn, and that club is on plane. Club gets off plane with amateurs because amateurs add in additional motions from these joints. All right, so now let's keep our eye on that right shoulder. And we're going to go until that right shoulder clears the head. So it's almost gone. Now it's right up here. And right as that right shoulder begins to clear the head, what do we see? Now we do see a joint in the arm coming into play, and obviously that is the right elbow. So as that right elbow begins to flex, what's happening to the left shoulder is the left shoulder is moving up. It has to, because that flexing of the right elbow is pulling it up. So let's see. There you go, and now he's at the top. So for all practical purposes, the torso completed its motion before the arms were asked to do anything. And you have to remember, muscle patterns or brain maps are created by a sequence of muscle firing patterns. So if any of these joints moved at any given time during that 90-degree shoulder turn, that would be part of the brain map. But as long as these joints are remaining stable, they are not in motion, the golfer is not bringing them into play, there's no brain map per se for a muscle firing pattern to make any of these other joints move during the backswing. So one more time, just keep your eye on that keep your eye on that right shoulder, wait for it to clear the head, and notice As it just begins to disappear behind the head, now we see the right elbow bend, the right elbow bends, and there is our shoulder elevation created in the left arm. And we can't see from this view, but let's see right here. So that I'm going to guess where this elbow is because I can't see it through the left arm. You'd have to have a down the line view. And let's say that that right elbow is right about there. And as it flexes, you can see that that right elbow has now moved up above that dot. So there's both shoulder elevation. The initial shoulder elevation comes from the right elbow flexion, and then both shoulders begin to come up at the same time. That's called sequencing of movement. So for amateur golfers, this is just a video of the backswing. That's what you want to try to do. Get in front of a mirror and try to train yourself to lock down the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist, and just make a shoulder turn. Get that right shoulder to clear your head from behind the head.
Hi, Allison here. Thanks for watching that clip. And if you enjoyed it and you're interested in scheduling your own one-on-one Zoom lesson, just click the link below. Thanks.